We're gonna get started just before we do the last few lines of Gemara. Just a few quick thank yous while I have everyone's attention. A very special thank you to the individuals who really worked very hard to make tonight a special and uplifting and Heilige Erev Shabbos. A special thank you to Jonas and Kaplan. Yeah. And I also want to recognize two up-and-coming culinary tornadoes that Baruch Hashem are rising within our shul. Reb Tzvi Friedman and Reb Zevi Daniel, who Baruch Hashem, everyone, Yonason, Tzvi, Zevi, this chavra worked hard. All the food, the beautiful, beautiful spread that we're going to see tonight is mamish all from these guys. All from these guys. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. And I also forgot there was another addition to our team, which was Reb Gedalia Rosenblum. Where's Gedalia? Good. Gedalia as well. The sous chef, right? The sous chef. That's what I was told, the sous chef. I also really want to thank, and Steve Golaskov. Is there any? Okay. Maybe I'm the only person who didn't cook. It could be I'm the only person. And Jorge, yes. Thank you. Good. So thank you really to everyone who worked so hard. A very special thank you. Where's Reb Gabi Cohn? Gabi? Gabi is somewhere. Gabi. So Gabi, Baruch Hashem, every time, whether it's this Daf Yomi Siyum or a Smichas Chavar Siyum, Gabi is always ready and willing to go ahead and take a leadership role. Rabbi Israel Miller, who Baruch Hashem was involved with this Siyum also from the beginning of the planning. And of course, it's very special for us to have Rabbi Eitan Katz, who is here with us, Baruch Hashem, on this beautiful Erev Shabbos, this beautiful Siyum. So, Chevra, we're going to do the last few lines of Gemara. But before we do the last few lines, Rabbi Eitan's going to lead us in a nigun. Temeretz Hashem, get us in the right frame of mind, in the right level of ruchnius, to finish this momentous, incredible, and overwhelming spiritual accomplishment. So we're going to continue now in the last few lines of Maseches Yevamos. We left off this morning. If you didn't bring a Gemara, hopefully there are sheets that are going around. There's still some extra over here if anyone needs. So we left off Tanaihi, which is on Kuf Chaf Beis Amud Beis 122b, 2, 4, 6 lines up from the bottom. I would say just before we finish the Masech, actually we'll finish the Masech, then Amir Hashem, before the Hadrons, I'll just share something with you. So the Gemara says as follows, Tanaihi. So I will say, if you remember again, the Shaila was as follows. A man shows up, or for that matter, anyone shows up in Beis Din to go ahead and give testimony regarding the fact that a husband died, and ultimately the wife is muteres to go ahead and remarry. So what was the Shaila of the Gemara? The Shaila was, is there an obligation of drisha v'chakira? Normally, halacha l'maisa, a witness comes to Beis Din. You don't just accept someone's testimony because they roll in, but rather, again, there's an examination, a cross-examination. So the shaila is, in this kind of situation, is there a drisha v'chakira? Is there a drisha v'chakira for this type of testimony? So the Gemara says, Tanaihi, it's a machlokes tanoim, Disanya, ein bodkin eidei noshim b'drisha v'chakira div Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says no. When it comes to this type of testimony, there's no drisha v'chakira. Whoever comes into Beis Din, a man, a woman, we saw a shivcha, an eved, whoever it is that comes in, if they give testimony that Reuven's dead, we accept that testimony, and there's no drisha v'chakira. There's no examination or cross-examination. Rabbi Tarfon says, bodkin. Rabbi Tarfon says, no, halacha l'maisa, thank you. There's a drisha v'chakira. There absolutely is an examination, a cross-examination. The kamiflegi b'd Rabbi Chanina. So we'll say, what's at the root of the machlokes Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon? What's at the root of their machlokes is a statement of Rabbi Chanina. Dam Rabbi Chanina, 4 lines up from the bottom. Divar Torah, echad dinei mamanis ve'echad dinei nefashas b'drisha v'chakira. Both dinei mamanis, monetary law, dinei nefashas, capital law. If someone comes into Beis Din to give testimony regarding any one of these things, halacha l'maisa, there is an obligation of drisha v'chakira to examine and to cross-examine the witnesses. Shnei emar, mishpat echad yihya lochem. There'll be one law for Klal Yisrael. Now Rashi HaKadosh comments over here, Mishpat Echad Yelochem, V'cheven da'ashkechon d'chsiv b'dinei nefashos, v'darashta v'chakarta. Now I will say, here's what Rabbi Tarfon says. Rabbi Tarfon quotes the pasuk of Mishpat Echad. Mishpat Echad says that all cases of halacha are dealt with in the same way. So monetary law, capital law, everything is dealt with in the same way. Now, what does that mean? So Rashi over here comments, and Rashi says, by dinei nefashos, by capital cases, the Torah says, vidarashta v'chakarta. You should examine. You have to examine the witnesses. So once it says, vidarashta v'chakarta, that you have to examine and cross-examine the witnesses by dinei nefashos, by capital law, and the Torah says, mishpat echad yilachem, that all legal areas are compared to one another, then just like you need drisha v'chakira for capital law, you also need drisha v'chakira for monetary law. Okay, what does that have to do with our topic? Umatam amru dinei mamanis ein tzrichin drisha v'chakira. So I will say, if that's the case, then why is it that Chazal said that there is no need for drisha v'chakira, examination, cross-examination of the witnesses by monetary law? Shelo tinol delis bifnei lavin. It's very interesting, because halacha l'maisa Chazal did not want to close the door in front of lenders. You see, Abba said, we know we've seen this theme many times throughout our journeys in Shas. If you make it too difficult for a lender to retrieve his money, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? Not lend. Not going to lend. That's it. So Chazal have an active interest in ensuring the ongoing flow of the loan market. So how do they do that? They have to make it as easy as possible for a creditor to retrieve his money. See, here's the problem. If I lent Reuven $1,000 and I have to go to Beis Din and it says drisha v'chakira, they're going to examine and cross-examine me. And in general, I'm not a details guy. So they're going to ask me, was it like this? Was it like that? I could easily get confused. And if I get confused, I'm going to lose out on the opportunity to retrieve my money. If I know that I have a possibility of losing out on the ability to retrieve my loan, again, I'm not going to lend. So Chazal said, even though mid'oraisa, really dinei mamanis should have drisha v'chakira, we dispense with the drisha v'chakira so as to allow for the consistent flow of the loan market. So it says the Gemara, what does that have to do with our sugya? We'll say, watch this. So what's the machlokes about? Mar savar kevan di'iga ksuva lemishkal kedinei mamanis dami. So we'll say, listen to this. The shaila is, when an Eid Echad shows up in Beis Din and testifies that Reuven is dead, and therefore as a result Rachel is permitted to remarry, how do we look, or how do we categorize that type of eidos? On one hand, since by testifying that Reuven's dead, What does that give Rachel? Her ksuva. So it's ksuva, therefore what? It's dinei mamanis. It's dinei mamanis. What's the halacha by dinei mamanis? Dinei mamanis, there's no obligation of drisha v'chakira. Omar Sav, the other opinion holds that no. Kevan de kasharina and eshes ishla ama kedine nefashas dami. So again, the other opinion, which is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva holds that no, since at the end of you're permitting a married woman to not marry someone else, this is dinei nefashas. Why is it dinei nefashas? Because if you're wrong, it's a chiyuv kares. So it's dinei nefashas, and dinei nefashas do need drisha v'chakira. So I will say this is the fundamental machlokes. Does the eidos of an eid echad who's coming to testify that a man has died and therefore permitting his wife to remarry, is that eidos subject to drisha v'chakira? Rabbi Akiva says yes, because he compares it to dinei nefashas. Rabbi Tarfon says no, because he compares it to dinei mamanis. The Rambam paskins that halacha lemaisa, no drisha v'chakira by an eid echad who comes to testify, which fits with the general motif of this halacha that mishum iguna akilu barabana, we're trying to avoid aguna. So because of that, in general, we lower the entire threshold of eidus requirements in this situation. Abba saying the Gemara ends. Amr Belazar, Amr Bichanina, Talmidei Chachamim. Actually, we'll say before we read this line, I was thinking about this today a little bit. That this idea of the Gemara says that by dinei mamanis you don't need drisha v'chakira. Why? Because shalotino deles bifnei lavin, in order not to close the door in front of the creditors. I was thinking about this for just a moment. That if you think about it, so in life, the truth is we're all borrowers. We're all borrowers. Think about this, I will say. Think about the brachos you have in life. Which of those brachos are yours? Can you lay claim to any particular bracha? Person is privileged to be married. Is your wife yours? Is your children yours? They're yours in that they're biologically a product of you. But lamaisa, they're not yours. They don't belong to you. Your parnasa, is your parnasa yours? See, all of dinei mamanis, when you think about all of the brachas we have in life, they're not ours. So what do you have to do every single day? People say, what's the avodah of a yid every single day? I go to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and not only do I thank him, but you know what else I do? Thank you is absolutely true. Always thank. Right? I will say, I have to borrow. Every single day I'm a lova. Every single day I'm a borrower. Every single Hashem, I want to borrow again. I want to borrow my wife. I want to borrow my children. I want to borrow my chaverim. I want to borrow my eyesight. I want to borrow my beating heart. I want to borrow my parnasa. Every single day I come to the lender, the ribono shel olam, and I say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the ultimate lender, lend me those brachos for another day. But I will say, what's the scariest part of borrowing from the ribono shel olam? What's the scariest part? What's the scariest part? Drisha v'chakira. Drisha v'chakira. Because the Malva says, no, let me see. What have you done with the halva? I gave you everything you asked for. I gave you every single thing you asked for. You asked, and I gave. So no drisha v'chakira. What did you do with it? What did you do with it? So Rabbosai, the notion that there's drisha v'chakira from the Malva ha'elyon from HaKadosh Baruch Hu scares me straight. And maybe I'll think to myself, you know what the answer to that is? I'm not going to borrow anymore. Because if there's going to be drisha v'chakira, that at the end of the day, Hashbarah is going to ask me to do with the brachas, you know what, maybe better that I don't have the brachas. So Rabbi say, what does the Gemara say? The Gemara says, Umatam amru dinei mamanis, ein tzarech drisha v'chakira, shelo tinol deles bifnei lavin. See, Rabbi say, what it comes down to in life is, sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that we don't maximize the brachas. But Hashem says, just ask me for them anyway. Because at the end of the day, our Father wants us to be happy. And our Father wants us to be shalom. Every parent gives stuff to their kids, even though I know my kid is not maximizing what I'm giving them. And there's a part of me that says, maybe I shouldn't give it to them. But then there's another voice in my head that says, I love my child. How can I not go ahead and shower bracha upon my child? There's no drisha v'chakira by dinei mamanis. And it's not just true in the olam ha'tachton, it's true in the olam ha'elyon as well. The Ribono Shalom gives us brachas, and there should be an accounting for them. But there's no drusha v'chakira. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't do a drusha v'chakira. You know why? Shalotino de'ales bifnei lavin. Because he wants us to keep asking. And he knows that if he forces us to account, if there's a back and forth, if there's an examination, cross-examination, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm not deserving. I'm not going to ask him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, ask, and ask, and ask, and ask. Just keep asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you'll say to yourself, but one second, how could I ask from HaKadosh Baruch Hu if I know that I'm not properly utilizing all the brachas and all the resources? Because nothing makes a parent happier than when their child comes to them and demonstrates their reliance on them. And it is no different than our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ribono Shel Olam loves it when we show up. And he loves it when we ask. And even though I know and he knows that I'm not using all of my brachas to their fullest capacity, Chevra, just keep on asking. Just keep on asking. And Chazal tell us, more than the baby wants to nurse, the mother wants to express the milk. More than we want the brachas, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give us the brachas. Of course, we have to reach the level where we're deserving of the brachas, we're properly utilizing the brachas. But Lamaisa, even if we're not yet on that level, keep asking. And Emir Hashem, our Father, will keep giving. I will say, just before we read the last line, I think we have to take a moment and we have to ask Mechila from Maseches Yevamos. And you know what I'm talking about. From the beginning of this Masechta, the most popular questions. How many dapim is it? When are we finished? What's next? Does it ever get better? And I will say, I want to tell you something. I'll tell you how I relate to this Masechta, which I love with all of my heart and soul. Maseches Yevamos is like a mother. You know what happens with a mother? More often than not, you don't really appreciate her. And you don't know all the things she does for you. But even though sometimes the child is a shtickle ingrate, and the child doesn't express hakaras hatov, the mother shows up every single day. The mother is always there. The mother is always there, no matter what happens in life. Good time, bad time, difficult time, wonderful time. The mother is always there. Chevra, wasn't this beautiful Masechta with us every single day? There's so much that's happened over the last 122 days. Yankee Statman is celebrating his anniversary of Shas with our Shir. Mazel Tov, we'll hear from Yankee a little bit later. Rabbi Yamin Edinger had a baby girl, Bat Sheva Tzirel. And Abba says so many other situations. People have lost loved ones. People have had simchas, tzaras. But no matter what was happening in this world, Maseches Yevamos was there for us every single morning. Sometimes we didn't treat her nicely. Sometimes we even talked while we were going ahead and learning her words, right? It's good to talk, you could talk. Sometimes we were even like a shtickle disparaging. And sometimes all we could wait for is, when is this over? If I see one more table with 57 sisters married to 36 brothers and co-wives with their second cousins, right? This is like West Virginia over here. Right? Like Lamaisa, again, if I see one more table like that, I'm done. It's difficult. But no matter what, Yevamos was there every single day. That's the beauty of this Masechta, Rabbi say. So some of us may come to the end of Maseches Yevamos and we might say, whew, I don't need to deal with this for another 7.5 years. Even if that's how you're feeling, don't say it. Even if it's how you're feeling tonight, whisper a little thank you to your Maseches Yevamos. Because she has been with us like a loving, doting mother who didn't always treat her well, but she always treated us well. So Maseches Yevamos, as we come to the last line of your beautiful, beautiful Gemara, we ask you from Mechila, if we did not always give you the proper kavod, if we did not always appreciate you as much as we should, if we did not always talk to you in the reverent terms that you deserve, if we did not always appreciate the difficult concepts that you were trying to convey to us, if we didn't fully take in all of the beautiful yisodos that you tried to teach us. Thank you for being there every single morning for the last 122 days. The Gemara ends off, Amr Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Chanina, Tamidei Chachamim marbim shalom ba'olam. Tamidei Chachamim increase and intensify peace in the world. Shne'emar v'chol manayich limudei Hashem v'rav shalom banayich. Rabbi say the Masechta ends off that ultimately Tamidei Chachamim are great because they intensify peace in the world. How do they intensify peace in the world? Through their takanas. Why is this the conclusion of this Gemara? Because Rabbi say at the end of the day, what was this, especially this last sugya, all about? All about Mishum Iguna. All about Chazal trying to intervene to go ahead and prevent agonis. What was the whole Masechta about? All about trying to make sure that a woman doesn't get stuck, that a Yavam doesn't get stuck, that people are able to have simcha in life. And all of that is because Chazal choose to intervene, Chazal choose to help, Chazal choose to create a system which hopefully benefits each and every one of us. Shne'emar v'chabanayach l'mudei Hashem v'rav shalom banayach. Hadrin Allah ha'isha basra uslik Allah Maseches Yevamos. It's my pleasure to ask Rabbi Yankee Statman to say the Hadrins and Binyamin Edinger to recite the Kaddish.